Hey, hello everyone! Good to see you. My name is Felipe, and in this video it's going to be kind of cool because we're going to be talking about composing gear. Now, this is a thing that everyone wants to know. So what computer, what keyboard, what speakers, what interface professional composers are using, so in the hopes of we eventually get this gear, we're going to sound better. Which you are expecting the answer is partially true. It's not true, but it's not also false. It's partially true. Because, I mean, if you have $100 speakers versus $1,000 speakers, of course the $1,000 speakers is going to sound better than the $100 speakers. In most of the cases, I hope. Now, if you have $1,000 speakers but you have not treated your room where you are composing, it doesn't matter if it is $1,000 speakers or $100 speakers, you are not going to be listening what you're supposed to listen. Now you can compare a $100 interface with a $1,000 interface, and of course the $1,000 interface is going to be better than the $100 interface, but is it going to make you a better composer to have a $1,000 interface versus a $100 interface? I'm not sure. That's the point, which is partially true. So yes, these things are necessary, but it's always important to know that the most important thing is you need to grow musically, and then you will be able to get the best out of these things. It's not the plane, it's the pilot. However, in this video I'm going to be sharing with you what I have, what I use. I'm going to also show you some things that I have years ago. And for those of you that are looking forward to build your own studio, I'm going to be sharing with you some recommendations that I can give you so you can start doing that. Okay, great, let's get started. Okay, so the computer is going to be the most important one, and actually is the most technical one of all, and I'm going to spend more time explaining this because you need to focus on three things. The first one is the processor, the second one the RAM, and the third one the storage. These three things are the most important things for composing. The more powerful they are, the better, for sure. So I'm going to give you an analogy that will help you to understand how all of these things work together. Now, if you know these concepts, you can skip this part and go to the computer. So imagine you have a scoring stage. The processing power, the processor, it's going to be equivalent to the amount of players that can play at the same time. So if you have not very powerful processor, 20 players will be able to play in that scoring stage. If you have a mid-power processor, 40 players can play at the same time in that scoring stage. Now let's say you have a super powerful processor. 80 players will be able to play at the same time in that scoring stage. Now, the RAM, it's going to be equivalent to the amount of players that can be in this scoring stage. Or if you want to see it in another way, the chairs, the amount of chairs that you have. So with a little bit of RAM, you can have 20 players seated in your scoring stage. With a mid amount of RAM, you can have 40 players seated in the scoring stage. And with a lot of RAM, you can have 80 players seated in the scoring stage. Now the storage, let's imagine that you have a storage room that it's much bigger, and here you're going to store all your instruments, all your violins, all your woodwinds, all your brass, your percussion, guitars, basses, everything. Now the bigger the storage, more instruments you can store. The smaller the storage, less instruments you're going to store. So here's how it works. You take your instruments from your storage room into your scoring stage. How many instruments you can bring? The amount of chairs that you have. Then you want them to play. How many they can play? It depends on how many your room can handle. So think about it. It doesn't matter if you can have 80 people playing at the same time if you only have 20 chairs, and it doesn't matter if you have 80 chairs but only 20 people can play at the same time. You see, these are the things that you need to think about. Now, let's see into the real terms. You are going to store your samples in the hard drive, in your storage disk. You are going to load them into your RAM, into your memory RAM, and depending on your processor, you will be able to play a certain amount of samples at the same time. Now, one thing to know is that from these three, the only one that you can use externally is the hard drive, the storage. capacity. You can have external SSDs or external drives to store your samples, but you cannot have external RAM or external CPU. That's important to know. So when you are buying your computer, if you buy Windows, you can change some pieces and you can upgrade the CPU and the RAM. If you are buying Apple and then you want more RAM, you need to buy another computer, basically. It's how it works. Great, so now that we know these concepts, let me show you what I have. So I currently use a Mac Mini M4 Pro with 64 gigs of RAM and 4 terabytes of storage. It has been working great. I have had no problems with it. I have loaded a lot of plugins and of course instruments and stuffs and reverbs and plus the video of picture and everything, and it plays almost with no latency. Well, you always are going to have latency, but it works very, very nice. Now, a year ago, I was using a MacBook Pro 2019 Intel i9 with 64 gigs of RAM and 2 terabytes of storage. Was very nice at the beginning, first 2-3 years, but then the computer started feeling a little bit, it started to overheat. It couldn't play all my instruments, I couldn't put the plugins that I wanted to have until a year ago that I had to go into a more powerful computer. Now let me ask you something. What did I upgrade exactly? What specifically was the thing that wasn't working in that computer, that I needed to buy another one? Do you know the answer? If you were thinking on the storage, because I went from 2 to 4, no, it wasn't, because my problem was not that I didn't have enough space for my libraries. The problem was that I couldn't play all my instruments. So the problem was the processor, because the RAM stayed the same. Both of them have 64 gigs of RAM. So I needed to change the processor because the computer that I had wasn't powerful enough to reproduce, to play all the sounds, all the instruments that I was sequencing. That was the problem. Actually, let me show you something. Let's compare my previous processor with my actual processor. So I'm going to go into this site, which is CPU Benchmark. I'm going to leave the link in the description. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to compare the processing power of both processors. So the previous one was the Intel Core i9. So this one, and the one that I have now is the Apple M4 Pro 12, there you go. And as you can see, the previous one has 13,000 in the CPU mark, and the actual one has 38,000. So the M4 Pro is 65, almost 65% more powerful than my previous computer. And that's why I'm telling you the difference was massive. I could load all the samples that I want and it doesn't throttle or anything like that. It works very, very nice. Now, you may be wondering, what about if we compare it with a super cool processor? Let's add another one. Apple. Yeah, we don't have M4 Ultra, but let's go with M3 Ultra 32. You see, 72,000. It's 47% more powerful than the one that I have. So that thing, it's a ultra machine. And it's 80% more powerful than the computer that I had before. Now, what if we compare it with a very, very simple computer that you can buy in in Paris, but not Paris, France, but Paris, Chile. Notebook. There you go, Notebook Paris. This is a retail store. Let me put you in English so you can see. Now, just to let you know, 1,000 Chilean pesos, it's equivalent to $1. So the conversion is very easy. So let's see, we can get a $300 computer. Okay, so let's go with this one. This is $275. It's a Dell computer, and the processor is an i5-62U. Let me see if we can find this. There you go, and let's compare it. So as you can see, this is 3,000. So in comparison with the, I need to take this out. In comparison with the Intel core, my previous computer that I have, this is 78% more powerful than or less powerful, sorry, than my previous computer. So, as you can see, these are very important things. Now, what computer do I recommend you to if you are looking forward to, you know, having a good computer for starting? I would search for a 32 gigs of RAM computer, and that's what I'm going to do now. 32 gigs of RAM. And here, as you can see, we are toward the $1,000. Let's go with this one. 32 gigs of RAM, maybe you cannot see it. So 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte of storage, which is very, very cool. If you have a 512, it's also good. You can always have external space. Now let's check this processor and see how it goes. There you go. Oh my goodness! 18,000! This is better than my MacBook Pro from years ago, which is very funny because the computer that I bought 6 years ago cost 3 times or 4 times this computer, but well, we are living in a new time. Now, this is a wonderful computer for starting. You will be able to have a lot of libraries, you will be able to work with plugins, and this computer is going to work with you for the next 5 to 7 years. Now, if you're looking forward to a powerful computer than that, you can search 64 gigs of RAM, a notebook or tower, whatever, and it's going to lead you to a computer that can handle those 64 gigs of RAM with the processor and probably more storage. And today, those are extremely powerful computers for handling libraries. Probably with that computer you can have, if you're a beginner, you can have 10 years with that computer, maybe. Usually 5 years is the soft spot when you eventually may want to change, but that's it. So yes, CPU benchmark. If you find a computer, test it there and see how powerful it is. Great, let's go to the next one. All right, let's go into the keyboard. The MIDI keyboard is the next one in our list. Let me show you. So I have a A49 complete control from Native Instruments. So this is a 49 keys keyboard. I would love to have the 61 keys version. However, I don't have enough space in my desk to have it because sometimes this extra octave is very necessary and I need to change the octaves a lot, but I get used to it. Now, for this keyboard, it has a lot of features that you can integrate with Complete. However, I don't use any of them. I mean, it has a lot of knobs and buttons and things that you can also integrate with your DAW, but I don't use it. I just use it for the keys. Sometimes I use the pitch bend, and that's it. It's a very affordable keyboard. It costs around $200, and it works. It's a lightweight keys, but it's a very, very good keyboard for sure. Now, when I was at USC, I was using a Korg Micro Key 37. So it was a very small keyboard, only 37 keys, and that was that I had for composing the entire year. I mean, for doing all my assignments and also to do the short films and all of that, and that was. And I'm very proud that even though I didn't have the best keyboard, in that little keyboard I wrote great pieces. Some of them my best pieces. I mean, I wrote my entire capstone with that, and very, very happy with it. So the point is, again, to show one more time that it's not the tools that you have, but how you use them. Of course, I would love to have had 88 keys in that moment, but that was what I have. Now, for you, if you're looking forward for a keyboard, you need to understand two things. There are lightweight keyboards and heavy or hammer weight keyboards. Basically, the hammer weight keyboards are the ones that try to emulate the feel of a real piano, and the lightweight keyboards are lighter. That's it. Usually, hammer weight keyboards are more expensive, lightweight keyboards are cheaper. In most cases, I would recommend you to have a 61 or 49 keys lightweight for your studio, because it's cheaper, it's easy to get, you don't need a lot of space. However, if you have the budget, you can also go with an 88 or 73 hammer weight keyboard. But consider that they are big, so you maybe are going to need to have a special desk to put that keyboard. Maybe you need to measure before, so try to look for the dimensions so you don't buy something that you cannot put in your studio. But any of them will work. Again, if I don't use any of the integrations of my keyboard, any of the features, but if there are some things that you may find interesting, yeah, for sure you can go with that. For the recommendation, I would recommend the 61 from Arturia. I think that's a very cool keyboard and you have a lot of things that you can play with. Actually, there's one keyboard that I have not showed you, that is this nano key. This is not a micro key, this is a nano key. And I use this guy for key switching, which is a feature that sound libraries have for going in between the articulations. That's another option that you can have. Great, let's go to the next one. So the MIDI CC controller is this thing right here. Let me unplug it. So this thing right here is the MIDI CC controller. This is what helps your instruments to go from piano to mezzo forte to forte, and also to have volume. Now, I cannot stress this enough. If you want to be a professional composer or an advanced composer or an intermediate composer, you need to get one of these things. This is a must for composing. And I have seen a lot of composers that they start making music and they don't get one of these things. And you don't know how much work this helps you when you are starting, and not only when you're starting, all your career. I mean, this is the equivalent of the bow of a violin. If you want to play the violin, you buy the violin. No one is going to buy a violin without a bow. I mean, that's obvious. So this is the bow for the violin. This is how you give life to your instruments. You need to have one of these. It's very, very important. It's even more important than your keyboard in some ways. So you need to get one of these, you need to use it, you need to learn how to use it. But Felipe, my MIDI keyboard has this module which is the CC1 and I can do... No, it's not the same. It's not the same. You need this thing. You need the CC1, yes, but you also need the CC11, which is volume. And I'm going to make a video talking about this in the future, about controlling dynamics, but you need to get one of these things, for sure. Don't mess with this thing. Just get one, and I'm going to recommend you one. It's very affordable, by the way. Let me get this thing. This is the MIDI Sparrow. It has 3 faders of 10 centimeters each, which is more than enough. I mean, it's the biggest one that you can get, which is good because with this you can be more specific with your dynamics, you can get more precision, and it costs $90. This is all you need. You can go, if you want, with 4 faders. It's better. Mine has 4 faders. That I would say that's the one that I recommend. You can go with 5 faders if you want, or you can add knobs to it. You can have a lot of stuff in this little gadget, but get one. I mean, I cannot be more intentional with this. This is the most important thing for your mockups. If you want your mockups to sound realistic, this is the thing you need to buy. Now there are other options, some of them high-end, some of them low-end. In my case, I have this Fade from Audio Imperia, but unfortunately they are not making this anymore. This is like in the high-end of the MIDI CC controllers. It's very expensive, I think, but I hope they release a new version somewhere in the future, because I think it's made of really, really good quality. Now, if you're going to buy your first keyboard, I prefer you to buy a cheaper keyboard, including one of these, rather than buying a better keyboard and say, no, I'm going to buy this in the future. In fact, I think that if you can choose between a MIDI CC controller or the keyboard, I would pick the MIDI CC controller, and I guarantee you that your music is going to sound better than if you choose just the keyboard. Unless you are composing a piano piece, of course. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so the speakers maybe are the common thing that we see in every studio. Every studio has a pair of speakers or more. In my case, I have 2 Iris, I don't know how to say it, 3, and they have I believe 12 years. I got them when I was at school, a lot of time ago. Now if I could, I would love to have the Adam Audio A7V. I think they sound amazing. I have heard the previous version, which I don't remember the name. I believe it was the A7X, but not really sure. They sound amazing. They have great high-end, great low-end, great speakers. Now, what speakers do I recommend? None of them. I mean, if you're starting, and maybe even if you're an intermediate composer, I would not recommend you to get speakers, because when you listen to your speakers in your studio, in your room, or wherever it is, you are not listening exactly what the computer is sending to the speakers. Because when you listen to your speakers, the sound is going to get colored by the reflections of the room. In the room, the reflections are going to make that some of the frequencies are going to get accentuated. And you are going to get a sound that is not going to be flat. You're going to have coloration. That's what it's called. It's coloration in the sound. Now, how can we prevent this to happen? You need to do a treatment, a special treatment to your place where you are listening. Have you seen these panels in the studios? Yeah, those panels help to prevent those accentuations in those frequencies. So if you are mixing your strings and you listen and say, oh, I think they sound a little bit boxy, I'm going to reduce the boxiness by lowering the 500 Hertz in those strings. Maybe the problem are not the strings, maybe the problem is that your room is accentuating those frequencies, and actually the problem was not your strings, was the room that you were listening to. That's why they do this special treatment, so when they are listening to their speakers, they are going to listen as flat as possible without any coloration. However, if you want to buy speakers anyway, I could recommend you something that will help you. This is called Sound ID. This is basically a software that comes with a microphone, a measuring microphone, that actually I have it right here. And this microphone, what it's going to do is that you're going to measure your speakers, and then you're going to measure this area right here where you are listening. You're going to take some measures, and this software is going to create a special equalization to cancel the differences in the frequencies that it finds. So let me show you how my speaker sounds without it. As you can see, it's very unstable for sure. There's a big mountain there in the in the lows. It's a resonant, it's a lot of accentuation in that frequency, and you see some valleys as well. And toward the high end, there's one of the speakers that have lost a lot of gain. Apart that they are 12 years old, one of these speakers received a lot of sun during a lot of years, and that's what eventually killed one of the tweeters. But the software, what it does, it creates a new equalizing, so it compensates all of those differences, so I can get a better flat response. Now let me show you how it sounds. Let me get the Sound ID, as you can see. Now let me show you how it sounds with and without the software. So as you can see, let me get this thing. So as you can see, you can really feel the boost in the highs, which is exactly what my speakers are lacking. And that's why I think this tool is very, very cool. Now you may be wondering why I'm not showing you a recording from the computer. And the reason it's because this is for me. This software works to help me listening better. If I send you a recording of this, it's not going to sound good for you. For me, it sounds amazing because it's compensating my thing with my room. But if I send you this and you're listening with the headphones, it's going to sound very, very bad. Maybe I can show you the example. See the example. You see, it doesn't sound good, but here it sounds amazing. And it works also with headphones and, well, any speakers for sure, because you need the microphone. And I think it works very well to compensate the fact that we are mixing mostly in our home, and that's how it works. So if you want to get speakers, you may want to get, you know, around the 300, maybe a good speakers for starting. If you want to go into the high end, well, you have $1,000 for speakers, $2,000. You can get crazy with this, honestly, and they are going to sound amazing for sure. But again, the problem is not the speaker. The problem is the room where you are listening. But as I said, I would not recommend you to go with speakers. I would recommend you to go with headphones. So headphones are the best investment that you can do in your gear. And the reason it's because it really helps you to listen what you are doing. We rely on listening, so we need to have the best listening system that we can. The good thing is that having good headphones, it's much cheaper than having good speakers plus acoustic treatment, and even plus the software that I showed you. So let me show you the ones that I have. These are the Sennheiser's HD 650. I bought them in 2022, so they have 3 to 4 years, and they are amazing. I mean, these are open box headphones, which means that you can listen the music that it sounds from here. They are not closed. You can listen from here. Let me show you. So if you record an instrument and you have click, probably the click is also going to be recorded by the microphone. But when you are mixing, it's very comfortable because I think that you feel that the sound, it's a little bit more open. And I don't know, I like it. It was the first time that I tried the open box when I got them, and I prefer them so much over the ones that are completely closed. The problem with these headphones is that they are very expensive. They cost from $500 to $600. So not everyone can get one of these. However, there are some headphones that are very nice, that cost half of it, around $300, which is the Bayer Dynamics DT770, which is the headphone that was recommended when I was studying at USC. That's the headphones that the teachers were recommending, and I would like to recommend it to you. It's half of the price. They are not open box, they are closed box, which is great if you're going to record instruments. I don't record that much, so it's not a problem for me to have the open box. But if you can get those headphones, again, this is where I would spend most of my investment. Well, and also libraries, but that's a different topic from today. But this is where I would invest for my gear. I think apart from the computer is the most important thing to invest with, because you learn the sound of your headphones. It's not that immediately you get them and you're going to mix very nice. You are going to learn how these headphones respond. Now, if you don't have the budget for that headphones, that's fine. Just go with $100 headphones and you will be fine. So I think those 3 recommendations are very nice options for you to pick. So I hope you can get one of those. Now the interface, what it does, it converts analog audio into digital audio, and digital audio into analog audio. So basically, if you want to record a guitar, you are recording something that is analog and it's going to be transformed into digital, and if you want to listen it, it's going to transform what is digital through something that you can sound. That's basically what it does. Now every computer has a interface which is called the sound card. Every computer has one. However, for sure the ones that you can get are going to be better for that job. Actually, without an interface I cannot record a guitar in my Mac Mini for sure. So that's why you use the interface, and this interface, it's a Audiobox 22 BSL. I bought it 12 years ago, something like that. It's very old, and I have not changed it since then. If I would change my interface someday, I would like to have a Apollo Twin X or an Apollo X4, I believe it's called, which is very cool because it has a special processor which is called a DSP that helps you to process your plugins that you are using for mixing. Of course, only the plugins from that company. And it helps you to process those plugins so you are not using that processing power from your computer. But it's very, very expensive. It costs $2,500. And I think I will still stick with this one. Now, if I have to recommend you an interface, I would recommend you the Scarlett 2i2 4th Gen. It's a very cool interface. It comes in a pack. It comes with a microphone and with a stand, I believe, which is great. However, I need to tell you that when I was at USC, there was a couple of times that I didn't compose at my studio, at my home. So I brought my computer, my MacBook, my keyboard, mini keyboard, and my MIDI CC and my headphones, and I start composing at the university. And I plugged the headphones in my computer and I composed like that. I mean, it's not the optimal thing, but just another example to tell you that sometimes you don't need stuff. Sometimes you just need to go and compose. Of course, it sounds better with the sound card, but the point is that don't feel that you need to have everything. Don't feel that you need to have all the things. The interface, I would say, it is the least important thing in the list. Unless you want to record guitars, voice, and that's your composing, then you need to get an interface and a microphone. But in my case, that I'm composing just with libraries, I don't need to have an interface all the time. I mean, it's better to have it, but it's okay if you don't have it. It's not a must to have. So again, just to remind you, the things doesn't make you a better composer. What it makes you a better composer is your knowledge, your technique, your experience. That is what makes you a better composer. And that's what sometimes allows you to compose even though you don't have all the things that you need or you may want. So just a recapitulation of what you need. So you need a computer, you need a keyboard, you need a MIDI CC controller, you need headphones, and if you want and you really are going to record, you really need an interface and of course a microphone, which I didn't talk about it, but I use a Rode NT1000 from 12 years ago, so it still records. And these are the things that you need for composing for sure. Now, there is one more thing that I would like to recommend you, which is not a hardware, it's a software, but it's the most important software that you need. It's the Digital Audio Workstation, or DAW. Mostly we know it as a DAW. So here is where you're going to compose your music, where you're going to sequence, mixing, and mastering your music. And you have two great options, Cubase and Logic being the most common ones. Also, Studio One, it has been another one that has been very common these days. You have Reaper also, which is free, and you have many more. I personally would recommend you to go with Cubase or Logic. I prefer Cubase, but you can go with Logic as well, and you will find a lot of tutorials and a lot of stuff that talks about how to use Logic for film composing. Now I have Cubase Pro, which is the best version of Cubase, but it's very expensive. It costs like $500 to $600, something like that. However, there is a lighter version, which is Cubase Artist, which is around the $300. I believe is close to what Logic actually cost. And you will have a lot of the functions that Cubase Pro has. And this one is the one I would recommend to you if in case you are looking forward to buy your DAW, because it's going to help you a lot in the years ahead of you. You also have Cubase Elements, but I feel that for music composing it's going to be a little bit hard. I believe that sooner than later you're going to feel that you need something with more functions. And that's it. here's my studio. These are the things that I have. I hope this video was helpful, and I'm going to put in the description of the video a link to a document outlining the gear that I recommend, so you can follow it up, and in case I acquire more things, I'm going to be updating it. Okay, so well, hope to see you in the next one. If you like the video, please consider to subscribe, and we see you in the next one. Goodbye.